like this.
Oh, man, what you want to make your hair look like that for?
Will you let the man tee you off? You yap worse than 6 barbers.
Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of the Your Barber podcast. I'm your host, Matt Belida, a.k.a. Matty Blades. This is episode number 46. We got a new year, and we're going to toy around with some new structure. So I've been wanting to do this kind of episode for a long time. Barbers love to BS behind the chair. We talk a lot to our clients about various things, but one of the things we tend to yap about the most is football. Definitely this time of year, and a lot of barbers partake in some laying some wagers. So I'd like to introduce the first edition of the Your Barber podcast, Betting Barber Series, and I considered some former guests I had on the show to bring on, but we're going to add to this too. We're going to mess around with it, but I figured who not better to bring on than the former guest, John Gould, making his return to the show. Back. What's going on, John? How you been, man?
Good. How you doing, man?
Doing well. Had to get the little Sam Spence going in here. So you work today, right?
Work today, yes. Hell of a day.
Hell of a day. How many clients did you blow through today? Kind of coming back, right, from the break. We had a holiday run.
Yeah, I went to Chicago over the weekend, and truthfully, not to segue off too far, but like we've been in business here. Next week, it's going to be 13 years. So we've seen a lot, had a lot of crazy things happen. Today was a first where, I'm in a salon, like I'm the only barber here. So, not to segue off too much, but there's a girl getting her hair washed at the sink, and like, you know how it is, even in a shop, you're in conversation with your client, stuff's going on elsewhere, so you're half hearing. I subconsciously hear her say something about like not feeling too great. She's got to get up quick. So girl doing her hair, whatever, that's fine. She walks over to the bathroom, cape and all, and you just hear like thud. So I look, I see another girl walk over to the bathroom. I jog in like a scene from a movie, just face down, like flat on her stomach, and go over towards her head. She's dazed and confused, bloody lip. Long story short, we help her on a chair that we have in a bathroom because my mom, the way she decorates here, our bathroom is like I don't even know what to call it. It's like better looking than most people's shops. My mom's just talented like that. So we have a chair in the bathroom that we're able to put her on.
Yeah.
And long story short, the lady in the chair at the time that my mom had color processing in her hair at the time, she's a nurse. Was just a huge blessing being here. This girl was experiencing excruciating abdominal pains after we had to have an ambulance come in. Just
holy
crazy scene, like in the midst of an already busy day, packed back to back, and I'm popping back and forth between the chairs, seeing what I could help with. Like just another first for us after 13 years of being here. So it's been a day.
I'd say, dude. I'd say.
Yeah.
Well, at least like, you're running behind a little bit or a little bit of turmoil. The clients see what you're dealing with. So you kind of get some grace from the clients for sure.
That's for sure. Stayed on time for the most part too, which is pretty impressive. So
absolutely. Hell yeah, dude. First day back, it never never a dull moment coming back and back into work. Well, we were trying to do this for a little bit, the sports betting pod. And yeah, we finally came together here after the break, and we got some interesting matchups here. I wanted to do this series kind of as a trial to do it next year, maybe. And then, maybe I can, do a once every couple weeks, once every 3 week show, kind of updating, keeping the betting record, showing how we did last week type thing.
Sure.
So we'll try out this playoff run, see how things go. How How was your betting year though? Did you have a good winning year? Or how?
Yeah, I mean, I stayed away typically from what like I would normally do. I'm just trying to pull any notes up that I would have had on the phone. I stayed away from typically what I would have normally done, but I'll play like a little bit of player props here and there. I think I have like an unofficial record of whoever sits in my chair and they keep tabs on things and oh, I remember you said that. Like so it's like a nice little pat on the back whenever that happens. So
Right.
I would say overall pretty good. I've been sticking to my guns with who I think is a legitimate contender, who's not, and been through that. Like I'm pulling out the when everyone's dogging the Chiefs, which I'm pulling out the I remember you said the same thing last year and here we are again. But overall, like I'd say good. I haven't been as heavy on it as I typically am, but player prop wise, like not bad at all. I've had some losers, but now is
Nice.
in Super Bowl too. So
What about the Super Bowl? My bad.
Super Bowl, that's where I'll have
Oh yeah.
everything. I'm ready to win big or lose big on that game. Like it's just fun for me to bet anything and everything imaginable.
Yeah,
Prop
you gotta have like 10 bets for the Super Bowl running. It's
and
just the way it is.
yeah,
Right. Yeah, dude. So yeah, this year since I opened up the suite and everything, I wanted to have like my betting board, keeping track of my record all year long. And I gotta say the props were something that I would like. It's like, God, if I just would have fucking stayed with my spreads, that would have been fine. It's usually when I add like a little prop before game time or something, is like I just tack on, the loss to the record there. So
so
that's what I was focused on this year, just like sheer like record. Obviously the money's a good thing, but like I just want to be right. like
heck,
just like you said with the client, dude, you were right. What you said about that's all I want, really.
yep,
So I think in the NFL, I've had over 110 bets, and I'm about 5 games above 500. So pretty good.
solid.
College, I have about 7 games above 500, probably around 90 games played. And I don't know if you feel this, but like I'm definitely more of an NFL bettor. Like college is just too much information to gain. So I like to kind of focus on like, I don't know, 10 to 20 teams
Hmm.
that I'm looking at, whether I'm betting on or against them.
Like you're talking about a sport where someone's a 30-point favorite and they cover with ease. Like that just never sat well with me. Like I can't. So I just never dabbled with college at all.
Right. Yeah. Like that's the thing with college. Like your principles you use in the NFL betting doesn't always roll over to the college game. And that kind of gets me in trouble. And I do want to talk a little bit about betting principles and some just, this is still the Your Barber podcast. We're trying to help out barbers, even if they are degenerates, to bet on the game. It's the game within the game, right? So we're giving some pointers to maybe some barbers first getting into this, maybe even because a lot of the states are legalizing sports betting. I don't know why they don't, if they haven't, because it's free money
As
for the
well.
state. It makes no sense, right?
Yeah.
So with that, you made me think of something with like the 30-point spreads and stuff. Like last year, I've had probably the last like 3 years I can remember, I've had great like regular seasons and then maybe a decent wild card round, and then I just like straight to shit after that. Because I think I had a decade straight of winning the Super Bowl. I've lost the last 3. So I think what I'm falling into is I'm getting a little too contrarian and using the things that I've always worked during the regular season. And there's less surprises in the playoffs, right? Like, especially after that wild card round, there's things that it's just, is pretty much going to happen the way it's supposed to happen for the most part, right?
I heard some stat. It was like maybe not this exactly, but wild card weekend home favorites are on like a 10-1 stretch. However,
Wow.
like home favorite wild card weekend plays. So I'm like you said, like you fall into the contrarian trap of like doing this and that and going against the grain, which as soon as you said that, it made me think of the Chiefs in the Super Bowl last year where I told everyone I know the Chiefs are winning this game. I can't place a wager on them because this will be one of the biggest losses Vegas takes if they win this game and Vegas does not lose. So the superstition in that had me take the Niners, and I went against, what I thought was going to happen, and I lose. But luckily, like I said, like Super Bowl, I'm props galore, so I pretty much broke even with that. But
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. I've lost the side. Like in the first matchup between the Niners and Chiefs, I was on the Chiefs as much as it pained me to take that. And of course, they were off to a slow start in that game, had to come back, just like they did that whole playoff run. I don't know if anyone remembers, but the Chiefs in that 2020 playoff run was like, they were down 3 possessions, like 3 straight games. It's just unheard of.
I'm like so emotionally damaged as a Bills fan to just like preconditioned to thinking Mahomes is going to pull it out every single time, and rightfully so because he does. Like I just never, Brady included. I've never seen something like it in my lifetime when it comes to him. I'm there and I'm ready to say it. Like it's unbelievable.
Right. No doubt, dude. Yeah, it's we'll talk more about Kansas City a little bit later, but let's,
Fortunately,
let's go yeah. Let's go ahead and dive into some helpful betting principles before we dive into the matchups and everything in our plays. So we're in the barbershop every day. I don't know if you have the TV on, Sports Center, FS1. I kind of hop around because I love hearing the opinions of the talking heads because this is what the public's hearing day in and day out, right?
sure.
We're hearing Greenberg overhyped stuff. Everything is the game of the year. Everything is the play of the year with Greeny. And then you flip over to, FS1, you hear Nick Wright blowing Mahomes or something like that. So, yeah. So, one of the things I want to make aware is like, you got to be aware of the talking head opinions, but you have to hear them all at the same time. You need to listen because it gives you a good perception if you're able to be objective with the thinking and the hearing of the talking heads. Fantasy experts will also kind of try to sway the game, sway the perception, sway the narrative of things, so beware of those. Great information though for injuries, which of course play a part of the game. But yeah, just beware of those guys. Also, one thing I've noticed they've done ever since the legalization of betting is they it's fucking like they're making Molly like handicap the game. I'm like, these are not like I remember one a couple of weeks ago. They're talking to Stephen A on ESPN, and Stephen A just gave all these like hot take opinions, all this shit, and then like Molly's like, ask Stephen A how much football he watched this weekend. He didn't watch a game, he said. He's like playing the Wi-Fi on the way from Dubai. It was crazy. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, why are we listening to these guys? Some people take this shit as gospel.
Right.
They're betting the house on the game and they're not even watching it. So you gotta be aware, like people. That's why I like rewatching the game. Like sometimes if I'm just hearing a little too much, I'm like, let me rewatch if I haven't seen it. Let me turn on the NFL Plus. What's the fucking condensed game? You can watch a game in like 25 minutes. You ever watch that, John?
I haven't. No, I have. Inadvertently, like when you're flipping through the channels, sometimes it's like late at night, you wake up in the middle of the night too, type deal. But
Yeah, NFL Network will be replaying something.
prime example of like just me being classic armchair GM like Stephen A there is like I'm removed from all the sports talk. Like I'm in a salon, like we don't have a TV in here, any radio
Ah,
stick. So like and my information is like who's in my chair. And a lot of times beginning of the week we start talking sports like always. I start giving my armchair GM hot take. And yeah, such and such said the same thing. And it's like give myself a little pat on the back because I got the same opinion as another moron who, like you said, Stephen A hasn't watched a game and he's giving his hot take. I'm hoping it's not him like that given week that I'm like in alignment with, but it's like I don't know. Like you said, you're putting your trust in these people and they're sitting there watching from the couch just like us. Half of them have the same insight. Like
right. Half of them passed out with Doritos on their chest. They didn't even watch the game. But no, that's useful though, hearing from your clients, because I mean that's a perception too. I mean,
you get the general. So our chair is a case study for,
exactly.
and you get the general public, what the general public is betting based off of your chair. I don't know if you've picked up on that, but I
Oh
go
yeah,
through 2 days and I'm like, okay, public's taking this, so I could lean this way because I know all the money's pouring in on this. Super Bowl, especially, obviously, because you all the casuals, right? Like that aren't watching throughout the year. That's I'd say 95% of the time, that's the public's pick is like what your chair's case study is.
here's a case study for you. Tell me, when we're discussing injuries, right? What team has been brought up the most? Think of a team where we're like, well, they're injured.
I would say the Lions for sure.
Boom, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah,
As if no other team in the league is dealing with injuries, right?
they are, and they're like in their defense, like they have some crucial injuries, like in
They
terms
do.
they've been decimated. But like this time of year, everyone's injured. Like
Yeah.
if you're golden, but everyone's injured this time.
Everyone mentions Hutchinson, but I mean, I think it's more valuable that they've had some cluster injuries
Mhm.
on their defensive, like especially their DBs. I think they've got back a couple defenders, but of course, then Montgomery goes down. He might be back like later in the postseason, but it just I don't know. It's not like it's affected them. They're still winning games like
Yeah,
handedly. They're still covering the spread, the big spreads they've been handed all year. I
they're
think what's their
they're
ATS? Detroit is 12-5,
wow.
which is there's three teams tied for first in the league at 12-5. And it's just like, okay, I get the excuse. I get it's part of the like it's a segment for every pregame show. If they're losing, if it's affecting them, but like we got to cut it out. It's almost like we're making the excuse for them why they're not going to win the whole thing. It's like
Sure,
we've been setting that up all year long.
I can identify with that because it's another cursed franchise. So we're just preparing ourselves for when they.
Right. Right. But everyone's happy for him. Everyone wants them to win. But my contrarian brain can't help but like try to stop the hype train a little bit. I love Dan Campbell. There's so many studs on this team, and I mean that Minnesota game the other night. It was a clear difference between which team was more physical and what team wanted it more. And
Sure.
Campbell had their guys ready to eat. So that's a big difference. But I wonder if his aggressiveness is going to plague them somehow in the playoffs with just go for it. I mean, it did last year, right? Like that's kind of what got him in trouble last year.
That's where the real issue lies for me with them is like, uh, he, I love the guy too. Big fan of his. I want him to succeed, but like, as crucial as he is to their success, he will be to their demise. I mean, like he is a psychopath. there comes a point in the game where you got to take the points. You got to
Right.
odds in like that guy. I don't like the Bills game, for example. You shrink it down to a 10-point game with what over 12 minutes to play in the fourth quarter, and like you finally start to gain some momentum there. Kicks an onside kick with a whole fourth quarter to play, where it's like not like before, where you have to like now you have to announce you're taking an onside. You can't have it be a surprise, and it's like that's him in a nutshell. Like when it works, it's awesome. When it doesn't, he's gonna think with him. It looks bad. So.
Yeah, sometimes you have to make the boring decision. Like it's not going to be Greeny talking about it the next morning, saying it was the best decision ever. Like it's sometimes take the PAT, take the points. You know, who was I hearing? They were giving Harbaugh. They're giving Jim Harbaugh shit for kicking a field goal on the 1-inch line. Sometimes that play will end up winning you the game later on.
Yep.
You know, I was watching my Broncos. I couldn't tell you how many times they should have won the game the other day against the Bengals. Yeah, that Bengals game went to overtime. It's like we lost the game 3 times.
Yep.
So, like, no one wanted to win. But so wrapping up real fast. So one other thing, real quick. Okay, I mentioned the team that injuries are the excuse or mentioned the most about. What player that is, relevant at this time of year is that exactly? Like we have to bring up, he might be banged up. He's dealing with this. What player?
Always Mahomes, right?
Well, okay, it's Mahomes.
Or you
But
mean like let me think here. I mean, Jalen Hurts is one we don't even know if he's going to play
I
this.
guess this is a tough example because I have some like bias personally too, but I guess Mahomes is this time of year, he overcomes it. But they've had success, Hurts and Mahomes.
Hmm.
There's a guy named Justin Herbert who hasn't done shit. And it's like Josh Allen played with a broken hand all year long and doesn't say shit about it. And we got here Justin Herbert when he has a hangnail week in and week out. And it's almost like the Detroit thing. It's like we're setting up why he might not win or might not succeed or might not, perform at the level he should because we did the 15 minutes, pregame thing on his ankle brace before the game.
In terms of like chair talk, I would say top 3 to 5 like most controversial players, like where there's really no middle ground. And I'm like,
right.
Even the Herbert flag for some years, like he's gonna get to that point where he's got to have something to show for it. For me, it's more a pure arm talent and passing standpoint. It's like to me he's top notch, but in terms of like the total package, like you got to start to have something to show for it at some point. But that guy, like that's some of the most heated debates in the barber chair have been centered around Justin Herbert. Like for a guy who's, like you said, literally done nothing up to this point, he's very controversial, like very. So
yeah,
he makes for a good time in the chair for sure.
I mean, we're about to go on 5 years, and Justin Herbert hasn't won a playoff game.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So, like, I've seen big guys with big arm talent that are entertaining that didn't do shit. I watched Dante Culpepper. I watched. I'm trying to think of some other big guys.
Passer that of
Iron Leftwich.
Neither had the pure passing ability of a Herbert. I think that's where it gets interesting, right? Like
accuracy, but they had big arms. Like Herbert's talented. I mean, he can even run. He doesn't get too high or low. I don't know if he's a very marketable quarterback on just his personality, but like that's me picking him apart. But like, I think they're in a great position this year, and I actually do like them this week. So let's dive in. Let's dive into the let's dive into the matchups, and then we'll get into something on the side too a little bit. But why not dive into that one first to start, since we're talking about our guy Herbert here?
Sure.
Let's look at the Chargers at the Houston Texans. We got the Chargers as a 3-point favorite at Houston. Now, I was watching a lot of Houston football today, just trying to get caught up because the general consensus on Houston is, Shroud, he had a great year last year, but taking a step back this year. They're kind of overrated. They're in a terrible division. The Colts were kind of a team that was a bit of a surprise, and then that was just about it for the competition in that division. What are your thoughts on Houston? Go ahead.
I would say they're perfectly rated in the sense of the division is garbage, trash, right?
Right.
So I haven't seen anyone rave about them or speak too highly about them, and rightfully so. They're just the beneficiary of playing in the AFC South. The two things that stick out to me the most, like when you're talking about these two teams, is Chargers are a little underrated on the defensive side. So they're, I want to say, plus 12 on the turnover ratio there. And Stroud has been sacked the second most amount out of any starting quarterback in the league. So that's like, that right there is a recipe for a bad day at the office for him. And then you've not that drawn a blank on his Ryans is a bad coach.
D'Amico Ryans, yeah.
But he's a good coach too. He's a little short-handed this year. I think Harbaugh is going to have this Chargers team like so well prepared coming in on the road. Like it seems like too easy of a pick for a road team coming in being a favorite, but I don't see how they lose this. They're talking about a team that's been decimated, the Texans this year, like start to finish, right? Like pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, Mixon's been in and out of the lineup. They just lost Tank Dell, who they lean on a lot. He's kind of their speed guy, all-purpose.
Well,
what's that?
He was underwhelming while he was healthy this year too.
Right, yeah. He was still battling back from his previous injury he had. And the game I was watching today, I felt like, later in the year, he just started. It seemed like he was turning a corner a little bit where he was making athletic plays and he's using his athleticism. And Nico Collins banged up all year long. They finally have gotten him back. He's a great weapon for him, but I don't know if all the attention's on him, if it's going to work out. They're a terrible team on first down. So they're one of the worst teams on first down all year, which puts them in a bad situation, put them on third and longs. And, it seems like Shroud's favorite target was Dell later in the season when he started to get healthy. So
sure,
that's going to hurt them. Their defense is actually pretty scrappy. That they're ball hawks. They can force a lot of sacks, force some pressure, but they can get gashed a bit.
Yeah.
It's an obvious coaching mismatch here. I love D'Amico Ryans. I thought he did a great job last year, and I think the future's bright. But Jim Harbaugh, definitely a little different. Even he's a bit of a weirdo, but he's gonna set him up to do right. They run the ball a lot more than years past. They have turned up the passing in the second half of the year because they had to, because Dobbins was out.
Sure.
I don't know why they kept forcing Gus Edwards to work. He was on my fantasy team, and it just was not working. I don't know why they didn't ride with that Vidal. He's tough, dude. He's got pop.
Yeah.
I feel like every time he gets the ball, he makes a decent little play. So I think is Dobbins healthy?
I don't know. I thought so. The thing is this too. Like I don't care. Stroud is he's shown that he's a good quarterback, right? Or he's got the ability to be one. I don't care how good of a quarterback you are. If you are under constant distress, like every single play, you're going to start second guessing yourself too. And I think that's here, and that defense is going to be suffocating for him. Like he's going to be throwing off his back foot a lot. Like,
And it seems like he's been sped up all year. Like he's just not as patient this year. He's not hanging in the pocket as long. He's kind of got things sped up. I thought there was injuries. Here we go on this thing.
and he doesn't have enough time in the slight instance where he does, just because he's so used to being under constant distress too. So it's a mental game with him at this point too.
No doubt about it. One thing about the Chargers, a lot of people knocked them, just like they have my Broncos this year, that their strength of schedule hasn't been great. They haven't really beat a ton of teams with a winning record. Just looking down the list here, their best wins have been the Broncos, the Bengals, and the Broncos again. I guess you could argue maybe the Falcons were a decent game here, 17-13, but they haven't been too. I mean, they've been battle tested, but
I don't
good.
Past this round. I like them. I mean, NFL is a game of matchups, right? I like the way they match up against Houston, but
Absolutely.
going forward, no. Yeah.
But going forward in the next round, it's going to be, you know who's going to be? It's going to be the Chiefs, and we gotta make a decision here on what that's going to be. What do you think that spread is?
Chiefs, Chargers, Arrowhead.
6.5.
I was leaning 7 or upwards. Honestly, I would say.
I think they'll play with the 7 hook.
I would say I could see. Yeah. I mean, play. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I think above. I'll go above 6, at least 6.5. But I would say 7.
Especially if Herbert gets a little banged up and they're yapping about it the whole week.
This way, like, I see them less than a 7-point favorite. I'm taking that all day. Like, they're not.
I mean, 6.5. I mean, Vegas could play that game where they could get the money. Let's take a look at the money on this game real quick because they show the splits, which is cool.
Okay.
So we got the money. 65% of the money is on Chargers. 68% of the bets is on Chargers. So I mean, there's no real surprises there. Everyone's on the Chargers. I don't think it's far-fetched that Houston would come out and play well in this game, but I think the long, the grind of the game, I think the Chargers are going to kind of grind them out, maybe force a turnover too. I think Houston's going to have to come out and make, force a turnover, make some shocking plays to force LA to have to throw. Because, I mean, McConkey, their weapons are kind of sus a little bit too, in a way. Like they have McConkey, who's been great. Why am I blanking on their tight end? Disley, he's been pretty good. But, I mean, other than him, what's that?
What's the kid's name? They don't still have him, do they? Gerald Everett?
Do they? I think he went somewhere else, right? Yeah. He might be somewhere else. I mean, they have like Josh Palmer,
who's extremely underwhelming. Like, I truthfully watched as much of them this year as I have in the past. Like, I've kept an eye on them from a distance, but they're ahead of the curve, right? Like, this Harbaugh project just started. He's put a stamp on things, getting his brand of football in place here, run the ball. Lad McConkey is filthy underneath. So get that guy to take it over the top. Like, it could be scary. Like,
their brand of football hasn't been exciting. Like, this isn't the Joe Lombardi era of the Chargers. Like, they're not slinging it around. Like, so
the LA Wolverines right now.
Yeah. Like, I mean, if you look at their games, like, it's boring football. They just win. It's exactly what you said. Harbaugh's putting his stamp on this first year. But, I mean, we're looking at, the Chiefs game. I mean, in terms of high scoring, it was the Bengals, the Ravens, and that's about it. The Broncos games. Those were the high scoring games I had all year long.
Yeah, not like in years past where
Yeah, they're winning games like, they're winning games like 26-3. They've lost plenty of games. They're losing games 17-15. But I will say though, all that being said, this is my best bet. So we will say this game is the game I like the most out of all of them. You have any last words on this game, or do you have a lean on this play or on this game or anything?
Yeah, I like the Chargers. I like the Chargers taking the spread. I mean, like I would say money line obviously is safe too. Um, that's it seems too easy, which like when I play the contrarian game in my head, like
Yeah,
you said, that's the only thing that messes with me. But I like the Chargers giving up the 3 for sure. That's one of mine. I don't
absolutely.
maybe not I'd say it's pretty close to solid, but maybe not my maybe play of the week
Gotcha.
when I look at it. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to another game here. Another short spread here. Let's go ahead, and we were just talking about them a little bit. We got the Minnesota Vikings are 1.5 point favorites at the Rams. This is another pros versus Joes game, I feel like. Man, oh man. Who do you like here, John? What are your thoughts on this game?
I like the Rams. I mean, I hate to be so reactionary and like live in the now, but that that last game that's the biggest stage, the brightest lights shining on Darnold, and I don't want to be that guy, but I feel like I just seen all I need to see with him in that moment.
Yeah.
A lot of open targets, missing open targets in the red zone, and I can't help but think if this happens 2 weeks in a row, the second time being in the playoffs, like he just blew his chance at a payday. And like as a Bills fan who's been tortured for 3/4 of my life, I feel for this Vikings fan base where he may have just put the cloak over them all season long for it to end this way. Like that would be devastating. But I
Yeah.
like the Rams here. They're battle tested. You got Stafford, who's tough as nails. He's going to play through anything. Um, McVay, you got the edge from a coaching standpoint there, obviously too. Not that the Vikings aren't well coached because they are on both sides of the ball, but you got to lean the experience here, obviously. Um, Defensive line, like they're tough in the trenches too. The Rams. You got the run game. You have it. Puka Nakua is mind. Like when I got to watch him start to finish as a Bills fan against us, like that kid is unbelievable. Like I just as a not that it's too hostile of an environment to play in, but the Rams giving up a point at home, like I don't why not play them money line here? Like that's my upset pick, which seems too easy once again, but I'm going that way.
Nice. Yeah, I think we're thinking the same thing here. I mean, if you're any kind of sharp better, your red flags are going here. You're like, oh man, this is the classic coaching it's not a mismatch. It's a good matchup. It's it's the prodigy versus what's
It's
that?
a learning curve for a young coaching staff, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah. I
they're
mean,
gonna have
there's no Kevin O'Connell without Sean McVay. So O'Connell came under. Is it McConnell or O'Connell? And I'm second guessing it.
O'Connell.
O'Connell, yeah. Kevin O'Connell came under McVay as an assistant. They're under that whole Shanahan, McVay, LaFleur,
Yeah.
McDaniel, O'Connell umbrella there. And so this is that one of those games is like, okay, young kiddo, let's see what you got here.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Flores,
mean, the Rams are
great.
healthy too. Go ahead.
Flores is fantastic on the defensive side too.
Oh
Like
yeah, dude, yeah. They remind me of my Broncos a lot. Their high pressure rate, they're all up on the line, they force a lot of sacks. They too have been dealing with some injuries. I think the latter part of the year, I think I saw something that Denver was, they've been top 3 all year long as a defense, but within the last month, without the great white hope Riley Moss in the lineup, they have been near the bottom in the last month of the league in terms of scoring and yardage. But they're still first in sacks. And I also heard the Vikings is like the next team within the last month that have kind of slipped off.
But you have on the screen, you have Minnesota at laying their -1.5. So the line shifted a little bit because they opened at just a point, right?
Let's see here.
I had them at 1 as of yesterday. I don't.
Oh, 1. I saw it at 1.5. Let's see where it's at now.
I like even more, obviously, but
it opened at 1.5. It's 1 now. You're right. It's currently 1.
Okay.
So that changed just from last night. Me typing this up.
Oh, the other way, obviously, playing the contrarian game again. But still.
Right. But I mean, at the same time, dude, this is a Minnesota team where I've been watching all year long. I have been in love with this team. I've been in love with Darnold. I'm loving the reclamation project. I do think we can't have recency bias too much with the last game. That's a game where Campbell can do the things he's good at. He can be aggressive. He can, because the stakes are, hey, we still have a path to the Super Bowl if we lose this game. Why not fucking just go all out for it and get a week off? So maybe the Vikings sort of like took their foot off a little bit once they saw that, oh shit, Detroit's about that tonight. Like, so plus Darnold just didn't have it. And they do have weapons all over the place though. So they say the best bets are the hardest bets to make. And I'm going to kind of triple contrarian it here. I'm going to double entendre this a little bit. I'm going to lean Minnesota in this game. I like Minnesota -1. Stafford's been in this position before too. It's scary.
Yep.
They're a little rested up too. I think McVay, they rested their guys the last week, so they should be even, fresher. It seems too easy to play the Rams here. There's something about like I don't want to throw away the whole year of me paying attention to this Vikings team.
Who's out with Minnesota's secondary too? Because they're facing some injuries there too, right?
Let's look here.
Which, if that's the case, you're looking at a quarterback with 2 wide receivers that are going to capitalize on that. I could be wrong, but I thought I heard something this morning that they may.
No, they're healthy. I think was Addison banged up? No, they're not on the report though.
Okay.
They got, so we can see right here. No, don't do that. Here we go. Yeah, they looks like their best player is questionable is Foster Moreau, corner. And they got an edge. It looks like he doesn't play too much either. It's banged up. Rams a lot healthier. I don't think there's anyone either in that game that's affecting them. Darnold, though, I mean, he turns over the ball a lot. He's a hit or miss type player this year. I mean, we're also thinking about teams again with the best ATS records. Minnesota's 11-5-1. Now, going back to the principles speak a little bit. When I say best record against the spread, that can kind of be a little nuanced at times, right? Because it's like, what number did you get? I don't understand. They make these ATS numbers sometimes. It's like,
Sure.
The thing we look for as bettors is closing line value. We look for value all over the place. So just because there's a list with the ATS records doesn't mean like you can't still top that. You can't get over on that in a way. So be aware of that. Be aware of the rankings. Be aware. I mean, there's always garbage time that inflates things or deflates things. You know, I know Denver has been in a bunch of shootouts. Teams like, I'm trying to think of a team that just like, like Chicago. That team is like garbage time central. Like they don't really cover the spread, but sometimes they come back in garbage time and put up all these numbers with Caleb and everything, but they've been getting beat down a lot this year.
I will say, like, Minnesota isn't, they're not a case of that where, like, they do control the tempo for the most part. The tempo name in their game, so it probably is more of a true testament with them. I've been the opposite of you, where like I thought they were a good team all year, but I was like, there's just something that won't let me pick them. And then right before this last game, I'm like, man, I think I'm finally ready to hop on. Arnold goes and has that performance. Not that it's all on him, but he struggled immensely under like I said, brightest lights. And I'm like, if this is a preview of the playoffs, like that just now on the opposite side of things, like as the season went on, the Rams in my mind, I just kept thinking like if this team happens to sneak in as a wild card team, they're scary. And what do? They go ahead and win the division because it's on a little bit of a down year there out west. So getting a home game with a battle tested team that's got maybe one more run in them, like I can't go against it. Like I'm going coaching and experience with that team versus I can't lay money on Sam Darnold right now after what I just saw this past weekend. I can't.
No doubt. No, I'm with you. And their defense too has been one reason why he's been forced to have to throw for all these yards too, in the latter part of the year at least. But that's going to be an interesting matchup because I was thinking just like you the whole week or leading up to this pod, and I just within the last today, I was like, man, I don't know. I think I'm going to switch. I think I'm going to end up playing Minnesota because they just had too much success all year, and I've seen too much of their games. Yeah, the Rams have slowly been turning it around, though, and they're getting hot at the right time of the year. So that'll be a great matchup. So we're on opposite sides there, which is good. This is the whole part of this. So all right. So let's dive into one game that it's getting me into these big spreads that I can't understand the line on this game. Pittsburgh, Baltimore. Baltimore is a 10-point favorite at home. What the fuck is going on with this game? I'm lost.
Said saying the same exact thing earlier to multiple people in my chair. So Baltimore's there's 4 teams that are in the same boat as Pittsburgh with playing 3 games in like such a condensed time frame. Baltimore, Houston, Pittsburgh, and Kansas City, right? Like they had those games where they were all super condensed.
Yeah, those weird, yeah.
Was pretty banged up, and like you could just tell watching them. Now, I think Baltimore should be favored 100%, but no disrespect to your Broncos. Like I'm looking at the matchups and I'm thinking right out the gate, I'm thinking in my head, Buffalo is going to be the heaviest favorite of the week. Like being a home team against a rookie quarterback, and I see Baltimore opens up at 10. Give me Pittsburgh with 10 points on this all day. Like money line, obviously different story. I'm not ready to ride with them there, but Mike Tomlin's going to have this team playing tough. Would it shock me if Baltimore comes out and hammers them again? No, but this line was crazy to me to see it open up at 10 points. I thought that was insane.
Yeah, I'm right in the same boat as you, I think. I mean, this Baltimore offense could light it on fire at any given time, and this Pittsburgh offense could play horrifically at any given time. So this could get the 10. This could be easily coverable for the Ravens, but yeah, I saw this, and I went back to their game they played like 3 weeks ago, and I was like, Pittsburgh should have fucking won this game. Like
Yeah.
Pittsburgh had him like dead to rights multiple times in the game. I remember there was a drive. It was tied. I believe it was 7-7. Russ is running into the. I mean, he's got a clear path in the end zone. He gets hit at like the 4-yard line and fumbles.
Yep.
And then that game continued to seesaw back and forth. I think like Derrick Henry like damn near housed it the next play. There was a pick, and then there was another pick. Like the Steelers got the ball back. I think it was tied or they were down 7. I think they're down 7. Minka Fitzpatrick got a pick. Very next play, Russell Wilson throws a pick 6. So that game was out of reach after that. But like that was all in the fourth quarter. So I'm like, man, they were right there in that game. They had multiple, opportunities to keep it very close or win. So I'm not understanding the 10. I understand Pittsburgh's just like they fumbled their opportunities with closing out this division, and they've been reeling for sure. But Tomlin loves these spots. I mean, Tomlin loves being this big of an underdog. I'm not sure they do enough to win the game, but 10 is just it's just a bit. It seems a bit too excessive to me.
Yeah. I think the weirdest stat I heard is like, so Pitt's defense is obviously pretty good, and like I think on the surface they seem a little better than what they are, because they're like, I want to say I heard they were like plus 16 on the turnover ratio this year, which
Wow, yeah.
if you throw elite quarterback play behind that number, like they're not blowing these games like you were just talking about. Like that's not happening. So that's the missing link, is like, that's why as a Bills fan, not to keep bringing them up and throwing them in, but like we can score with anyone. I'm like, that defense is good, but we'll put up points. And then what I've seen with that offense is they're not going to be able to match whatever team is putting up points to that magnitude in the playoffs.
Yeah. I did see something about Zay Flowers. His knee is not right. He's listed day to day, and I'm like, oh shit.
That's big.
That guy is like top 3 receiver wise, I'd say, in the league. Like he has just been lighting it on fire. When that guy's got it going, they're tough to stop.
Yeah.
I remember a game in Denver, the only game Denver got beat by more than one touchdown all year long was against the Baltimore Ravens. And it was a 1-score game at half. Right before half, we had our backup safety in the game. They complete a ball to Zay Flowers on like a dig route for like 12, 15 yards. Just like can't get his hands on him, and he just fucking houses it after that. Just takes it the whole way. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? We had this game in our possession, a chance, and then just continually got worse after that. But what's that?
Like this is a week where, okay, they know he's banged up. Like, let's grind it out, get him healthy, not force the issue with him. Baltimore wins, but not by 10 points or more, right? Like, it's got the makings for like a gritty AFC North game. Like, I'm not picking Pittsburgh to win, but that line is just that's too wide for me at first glance.
You can't count out Russ in this position either. I mean, say what you want about him, but the guy's a consummate professional who's been there and has had plenty of clutch moments, even in this latter part of his career. And I think he's gonna show up.
I mean, Broncos playoffs last year, like that. If they weren't worried about the bonus, they would have had to pay him. You guys were about to make it last year, so
right. We were right there. Christmas Eve, we blew it to the Pats. I was in Italy. I stayed up till 6 a.m. to watch the game on the other side of the world.
Well, then the year, right? Like, so because they sat him right at the end of the year, right? Like, because he was.
Well, we didn't have a playoff potential at that point. We were honestly in the same exact position we were last year at the same time.
Okay.
Almost probably the same record. We we stormed back. We won like 6 or 7 in a row, or won like 7 of our last 10, and we go into that game needing it. And I think we went down 21 points or 22 points, and then we stormed all the way back, tied it up, and then was begging the Pats to take a shot down the field to send it before overtime. They did, hit a perfect back shoulder, game-winning field goal, game over, season over. Russ is benched after that. But people forget that, like all these talking head shows, they're like, Russ, it didn't work out in Denver. It almost did last year with Peyton at the helm. Like, they came close to getting in last year. So don't count out Russ.
In closing, Pittsburgh too is, and not to like be that guy to overanalyze like someone and just sit there and harp on them like the rest of the world is, but it's becoming a real thing. Which George Pickens is going to show up for this game, right? Like,
right. Is he playing? We know he's playing or no?
I think, which that's an issue in itself, but like I thought he was, but if he does, it's like you don't know which version of him is showing up week to week. Like he's a head,
Yeah.
he's a head case. So
he's definitely a head case, 110%. They're
talent,
definitely better with him than without him, but
talented as hell for sure. He's got it. It's just a matter of if he puts it all together that day.
I don't know why I'm not seeing him on this.
I think he's good to go. I'm pretty sure.
Is he? Okay. He must be good to go then. So that's another wrinkle to the whole. And I'm seeing on PFF here plus 9.5. So I don't know if that's
Okay.
Their spreads have tend to be a bit off from what I've been seeing from compared to the rest of the market I've seen. But so that, if we're seeing 9.5 in certain shops and it's trending that way, so people are betting the Steelers. I mean, we're seeing the money. I have this up. We're seeing the money here. Leaning towards the Steelers. We got 53% of the money and 53% of the bets on the Steelers in this matchup. So I think Pittsburgh is my second play, the plus 10. I like Pittsburgh, which I need to take.
I'm with you.
I can't remember if I actually took or not, but I need to do that. Okay, so let's get down to it, John. Let's get down to it here.
I still have them at 10 as well.
Still got them at 10. Good. Okay. So we have the Broncos versus the Bills. Now, I will say, before we dive in, I want to ask you a question. What is your take on betting on your favorite teams?
So I will only take them if I'm taking them to win. I'm not, I don't do any reverse moshing or any of that. I just like fantasy included. Like I will take an L in fantasy if it means my team wins. Like obviously best of both worlds is good, but I don't lean towards the Bills and lose ever. But
yeah, like
I'll take them.
I'll never bet against my Broncos. I'm realistic though, and I'll find an angle to bet on them that's good. So like the Chargers game, for example, a couple weeks ago, I wasn't feeling great about the game and I didn't bet on them, and they didn't cover, but they looked like they were about to cover the whole game. But my play was Denver team total over 20. I'm like, the market has slept on our scoring potential all year long. We scored 21 in the first half and covered the 20 in the first half. I think we only scored like 24 in that game though, but so I had that covered. So that, you look for ways, but you can't. I love people are like, that's my golden rule. You can't bet on your favorite team. And I'm like, why though? Because who else that's betting on your team is watching all the press conferences, I've watched so many local media Broncos shows. I'm so tuned in and tapped into everything that's going on there, whether it's hearsay or fact. And I'm not going to try to take advantage of that at all. So,
Right.
And we're going back to my Broncos, going back to the team is 12-5 against the spread this year, according to teamrankings.com. Detroit, Denver, Chargers, all 12-5 according to this site. Those were the 3 teams tied for the best record against the spread. So if the Broncos are having a good record against the spread, then I'm having a good year, more than likely. So let's get back to the matchup here. We got the Broncos versus the Bills. Now, if you recall, going back to that Russell Wilson run we had last year,
Yep.
everyone remembers Miami scored 70 on you. Okay, we won 7 straight after that start. And the Bills was one of the games where we, this isn't too far-fetched of a reality for Denver to come in and win this game in their brains, right?
Mm-hmm.
We saw it last year. What they needed, though, was a lot of magic to win that game. There was a lot of great punt returns late in the game, special teams plays. That we had to force turnovers to make it happen. The game at the end, we had a game-missing field goal to win the game, but there was 12 guys on the field or someone was lined up off sides. We got another shot, won the game. So it took a lot for Denver to win that game. Don't get misconstrued. But I think Denver they're young and hungry.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what they don't know.
Yep.
They're playing with house money. Everyone kind of like the Chargers, what we're talking about. Muddy up this game, shorten the game, do what you can to keep Josh Allen off the field. I know Sean Payton. I've been watching Sean Payton closely for a couple years now. They're going to come out firing right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Because we're a team that plays a lot better with the lead than from behind.
Side note, my opinion, that's coach of the year. He's done the most with the least. I know he probably won't win it, but for me personally, that's coach of the year.
Right. I feel like he's not discussed enough.
No.
And
I'm
going to give it to either Dan Quinn or Kevin O'Connell, though. But
yeah,
I wouldn't be against Peyton winning it, of course, either.
in terms of what I said, who did the most with the least, right? Like, if not the criteria, but like what was their win total? Probably around 5 games to start the season.
5.5 games was the win total for Denver this year. So,
everything
just looking at those against the spread records, that is the expectation, the spread. That's why they set the number. Those are the expectations of the game, and we've exceeded expectations all year long. And so the 9 is a bit. I saw the 9. I was like, oh God, I don't know if I'm going to play it. But if you're into teasers, and like I am, this is a great teaser opportunity to tease at 6 up to the 15. You lose by 2 scores, you still win the game if you're on there. What's that?
Or tease the Bills down.
Or you could tease the Bills down to 3. So it's a likable. The 9's a great number to tease either way. The Bills, though, ever since Joe Brady took over in that game, because they fired Ken Dorsey after that Broncos game, right?
Yep.
What are they? They are 20-6, I believe. 20-6 since Joe Brady took over as OC. So, they've completely changed their whole look about everything. Go ahead and tap into that, John.
So I'll preface this with the fact that I'm not a owner. I'm not anyone who knows like the opposite. Like, I'm so emotionally damaged as a lifelong Bills fan that I could be pretty pessimistic and talk about how we're cursed and Josh Allen is the next Dan Marino, who's going to be one of the best talents this league's ever seen that won't win a Super Bowl. All that being said, McDermott usually fares well against rookie quarterbacks. He's going to have everything dialed up. I think Bo Nix is stepping into a hostile situation. Just last year, I was at the Ralph for a playoff game against the Steelers. If the weather plays a factor, that's a real thing too. Like, not that Denver's not used to it.
That's one thing that's not going to play a factor. It's supposed to be 31 and clear. I saw.
Which Josh Allen, like, that kid's just got a rocket. It doesn't matter.
Right, nah.
All coming at him. It's a clear-cut advantage for us when it does play a factor, but it's not.
Right. So as I saw, it's clear. Like, 6-degree winds, 31. I'm like, this is the best. That's the best potential environment for us, for Denver.
Defense has struggled like as a whole this year. I like Buffalo to cover the 9 points. Honestly, I do, like, all bias aside. I think this is a learning curve for Bo Nix. Like, that kid has played. He's been so impressive this year. Like the Cincinnati game, that, like, whoever wasn't sold before that, like that crucial drive at the end of the game where they missed the third down opportunity, and then he hits who was it, Mims on fourth down to send it into.
Yeah.
He's good, man. Like, you're headed in the right direction there. I just think this is going to be a tough learning curve for him. Um, I've been to dozens and dozens and dozens of games here. Only one playoff game, but that atmosphere is just different in that stadium. And
Yeah.
I think come first round of the playoffs, like, this team is pretty battle tested. Obviously, we blow it always when we're faced with Mahomes after that, but I think you're going to see a well-oiled machine offensively step in here. Like, Josh just had a week to rest, which is pretty unusual. Like you said, he was hand injury all year and wouldn't have even known it, besides him being a little reluctant to run the ball compared to normal. I like us to cover the 9 points. Like, all biased aside, I like I said before, I thought this was going to open up as the biggest favorite this game here, but it didn't. So
Yeah. I mean, I think the health of Riley Moss is going to be massive because obviously PS2 is going to be locked up on Coleman the whole game. So who do you think is their other option that would be the two that,
we've really only seen Cooper and Coleman out there together, like, a couple times. Like, it's been limited since we got Amari. But when Amari Cooper is out on
man, I keep forgetting they have Amari Cooper, dude.
everything up for everyone, let alone, like, Shakir is lethal underneath, regardless of who's out there.
Yeah.
But Cooper being out there opens everything up for Keon. Coleman, like, he's still struggling to get separation, which I don't like. I haven't thrown in the towel on that. I think that will come. But you throw that kid a contested ball. Like, I don't know if you saw that play where just vintage backyard Josh Allen football where he threw it up in the back of the end zone and Coleman looked like he was 3 feet above any defender around him.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
He's came on, dude. He's looked good.
Cooper's healthy. Opens he's just a consummate pro. So I like.
One thing that worries me is a little bit of Shakir in the slot too. With if Denver has a weakness, I think guarding tight ends could be a problem.
We got a couple good ones there too.
Yeah, the two teams I didn't want Denver to play in the playoffs were the Bills and the Ravens. I thought Denver could match up well, like, without having magic happen against any team other than those two teams. So, I didn't even really get the relish in the playoff. Oh, we're back in the playoffs like last week. And I love how people were like, the Chiefs threw the game because they didn't want the Bengals in the playoffs. No, the Chiefs rested players, and whatever the fuck happened. Like, it wasn't too thought out. I'd say, like, people are loving that narrative.
With this dynasty, like, they're worried about themselves and themselves only. Like,
yeah,
it's a
like, I get it. Joe Burrow, they're exciting, but their defense is horrific, and I understand the ratings would have been a little higher if the Bengals got in, but yeah, they still couldn't get the job done all year long. So, but yeah, dude, I mean, I think how Denver wins this game, wins the game. Okay, I think we got the Broncos. Here, I wrote this down. I think the Broncos, the Bucks, and the Rams are three teams. When you get their A game, they can compete with anyone. They can beat anyone in the league. I think Bo Nix, the thing that's not really getting appreciated the most, Bo Nix doesn't really flinch at an environment. I don't think the noise really bothers him. I watched him week 1 in Seattle, his rookie debut, and everything procedure-wise, noise-wise, I think that shit really doesn't bother him at all.
No,
I think he's just gonna have to make sure he stays calm and doesn't try to make too many plays. The kid's super athletic, he can run. There was a time of the season where I think week 12 to maybe 16, we finally saw where he was like not leaning on his legs too, like he was hanging in the pocket. He just felt like he was playing a slow motion, like Mahomes. I'm like, man, he's got so much confidence going right now, and he's seeing everything so clear. So if Denver's O-line has been phenomenal and healthy. Denver's one of the healthiest teams in the league, albeit we're an injury or two away from being bad. Like if a safety or a corner goes down on defense, they're in trouble. They're in big trouble. So that's why the health of Riley Moss is super important, because if they don't have him, it's gonna be a blowout. So I do think the Bills run the ball a lot more this year, which has made them even better. I do like the Bills winning this game, but I'm leaning towards Denver to cover the 9. And I'm loving the teaser, the 15, because like I said earlier, Denver has only been in one game all year long, and all their losses, only one of them has been more than one possession game.
I mean, I love teasing the Bills down to 3 in that regard too, because like I do expect them to cover the 9. I think McDermott's going to throw a lot of disguise at Bo Nix too. Like, coming up, the one thing about him, it's such a hard place to be in as a Bills fan when it comes to Sean McDermott, because like you can play the game of what are you going to get out there that's better when we look at our shortcomings, but then you can also play the game of, okay, what are we going to do? Run the same thing back over and over again. What I will say about him that he's actually taken a step forward with is it's like the whole bend don't break zone defense. He used to just live and die by that sword and make zero adjustments all game. He at least will make in-game and halftime adjustments with this team, and like you'll see a little bit of man coverage mixed in there too. It's just the only spot where he really struggles still is just crunch time, 2-minute situation. Like it's like something short circuits within his brain at that time. But these are the types of games where he really relishes in the moment. And I think he's gonna make Bo look like a rookie. No disrespect to him, because like I said, I think he's had a phenomenal year. I think you get.
I mean, the smart money always goes to fading a rookie's playoff debut. I mean, that's always smart. I'm a bit surprised on the money. The money is 56% favored Denver. The bets are 53% Bills.
Okay.
So that's a bit surprising to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's spread. Yeah, money line people aren't getting down on Denver, but all right, a little bit of money, maybe an early syndicate out there taking the 9 or something, because here they're showing 8.5. I know it's trending that way, so that's why I want to get on that. I mean, you get 14.5. That's still great. That's still great in a teaser. What are your thoughts on teasers, John? You a teaser guy at all?
There was a point where I was. I think this year has been solid for teasers too, compared to.
I've done very well on teasers this year.
This year more than others. It's the NFL. Like everything seems easier than it is, especially teasers, right? Like you're looking lines juiced like that, and how can it not hit? And then it's just like playing a parlay where one of them misses, and I don't know.
That's what I was getting at too. I was like, I'm only a 2-play teaser player. I don't fucking add 3, 4. No. Then you're getting into lottery type shit. Like that's another betting principle for the newbies out there. Just do yourself a favor and realize casinos are built with suckers playing parlays. So
Talking about teasing this game, all bias aside, like you're looking at, so Buffalo's a minus 500 money line play. Like you shrink them down to a 3-point favorite. I don't
right.
see you play that with whatever other game you like. Like I don't. That's pretty golden to me. So, but I like
Yeah.
them to. I like them laying the 3 for a teaser. Either way, I think we win pretty handily. Like all jokes aside for our team.
They could very well. They could very well.
Yeah.
Well, we shall see. I'm excited for the game. I'm getting my hopes up more and more, but it could end up bad.
NFL, right? I mean,
Right.
game of inches, so anything can happen.
It's good. It's good. The first half's going to tell a lot. So let's continue forward. Washington and Tampa Bay. This is another very interesting game, and then we got one more after that. And we'll close out. What are your thoughts on this game, John?
So this is the team I was confusing with Minnesota with the secondary. The Bucks have had a lot of injuries in their secondary. They've had like their top 3 safeties out at any given point in time.
They're back. They're in and out of the lineup. I think Dean is going to play.
Winfield healthy, that's a big one too. I don't know.
Here, let me look.
My initial gut tells me that Baker plays so well at home. This team is tough. Like I like the Bucks. If I'm forcing myself to like scrounge up, if I have to pick more than one underdog, I'm just gonna go with the Commanders here because Jaden Daniels is special. He's having a special year. I could see it lasting one more game tops, but I think the smart play is the Bucks at home. I'm like so torn up. I've gone back and forth on this one. Like I'm not gonna force this play, but this would be a nice one if you want to like do a little Hail Mary underdog parlay, like make someone else. Like why not take a shot at the Commanders? I do think the smarter play is the Bucks, though. They're tough at home. Baker there too.
I'm on the Bucks once again. Another teaser opportunity.
Yep.
I think that's going to be my third play. I'm going to have the Bucks +3 in a teaser with. We'll talk about it in the next game, but they're one of my teaser games, dude. Think about it though. The Bucks are scary. I think the Bucks are a team where it's like, oh man, I think Philly, if they have to play the Bucks again, they beat Philly last year, right?
Was that who?
I think they eliminated Philly in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, I
And
think right. And then they had a tough loss for whoever they lost to too. It was like down to the wire.
it
The
may have
week
been the Niners. Had to be the Niners, right?
was it? I
Because
know
the
they
Niners played Detroit, right?
Baker threw a pick on like the last drive of the game in the playoffs for them to lose to whoever they lost to. Not that it was all on him, but it was like down to the wire type deal.
Yeah, Bucky Irvin, dude. I love Bucky Irvin. They got good backs with White and Irving. And yeah, Baker, dude, he looks great. He just he's kind of got a little Jared Goff too in him. It's just like you're gonna win and die on his sword a little bit at times.
In this Commanders team, like just like we were talking about with Denver or whoever else, like they're green, right? Like you got
Playing with house money.
yeah, something special going. Like that's what keeps dragging me back is like I've seen this kid Jaden Daniels just pull something out of a hat more than once this year, and he's pretty
Right.
special. Like I could see it happening one more time. And like I said, if I want to juice up a parlay and like just take a long shot that I'm expecting to lose, I'm throwing this team in like getting points or not even getting. I'm throwing them in money line because it could go either way. Like this one is not one I'm leaning on strongly either way.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Washington and Denver is just like expect the gadget plays,
Yeah.
expect some shit that's gonna shake the box up a little bit with early, especially in the game. So, but I do like Tampa here to go ahead and end Washington's beautiful season they've had. At the beginning of the year, I like to look at certain teams that teams aren't paying attention to. And Washington was one of those teams because I think they're sound defensively. They have some weapons, and then they had the mystery of the rookie quarterback coming in, who I thought was going to be one of the better guys out of the class for sure, and he has been.
My opinion, one of the most underrated. I don't know. I think he was a free agent pickup, not a trade, but pickup defensively with that Frankie Louvu kid too. The
Yeah,
Carolina, and like that's a Dan Quinn type of player right there. Like he
yeah,
every play, and they do play tough, so we'll see.
yeah. Don't count them out. Don't count them out. And that game's a lot more reachable than the Denver game is to Buffalo. I mean, definitely a lot more reachable with Tampa. I mean, Denver's beat Tampa. That was the first game where Denver, and that's exactly what they did. They were 0-2. They go at Tampa, their first one of their road games. They had back-to-back road games, and they came out first possession, and they went up like 14-0. I think they came out first possession, took a shot down the field. They weren't dinking and dumping. They were aggressive right out of the gate. But one thing that a lot of people don't realize, the Bucks have beat the Lions. That was one of the Lions' losses this year.
Yep.
Tampa Bay. A lot of people forget that. So they can turn it on with the best too. So that was going to be a fun one. But so let's go ahead and move on to the very last game.
If I have to pick
What'd you like? Yeah, what'd you like on this game? My bad.
because I can't just play the middle of the fence there. I'll go against the grain since you took Tampa. I'll take Washington.
You're on Washington. Not a bad play.
Yep.
Not a bad play here. So we got Green Bay and Philly. This game, I think, is just a good matchup for Philly. Great matchup for Philly.
Who the hell is playing? Like I don't is Hurts like is he playing?
This is the game that's so weird with the quarterbacks. I think Hurts is. I think they're just like. I think they're taking advantage of how long they can wait to give a status on them. But I think the number said the number. Looking at these numbers, they always tell the story, right, John? So
Yeah.
when we see that -4.5, we're like, oh, Hurts is playing, no doubt in my mind. They just haven't quite revealed it yet. I honestly think Love might be more banged up than Hurts
Yep.
because he's dealing with the thing is injured or bothering his throwing arm.
Watson's out for the year too.
And
right?
Watson just tore his ACL, so they really don't have anyone to throw to either.
Yeah. So I'll be completely transparent. Like I have a tendency to stick with my guns if I'm like making a bold prediction before the playoffs start. So for weeks now, I've been saying the NFL fan base is going to be angry when we have a Kansas City Philly rematch in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
A part of me is like pulling for that because like we talked about at the beginning of this, kind of like when you got that client that sits down and you had these discussions midway through the year and you get to sit there and revel in your success after. And
It's like what I say.
Philly's tough, man. Like they just, I mean,
They're dysfunctional, but they're really elite at the same time.
carries in football, right? If healthy, like as young as they are, just I mean that where'd the kid come from that they drafted the first round pick? Toledo or
Philly?
yeah. The corner.
Oh, DeJohn.
Not him too.
Oh, Cooper DeJohn, not him.
Their first round pick, absolute stud. I think it's stud. They have him, DeJohn, like they're well coached too. They're battle tested. Saquon Barkley is obviously playing out of his mind this year. Like I think Green Bay has a tendency to like, they let their foot off the gas, and then Love all of a sudden like will just throw for 300 yards in half like it's nothing. But I don't know if that opportunity is going to be there in this game. I think they come out and they punch them in the mouth. Like I like Philly myself.
Yeah, I mean Jacobs is gonna have to be their whole offense. I feel like, or they're gonna lean on him a lot. They're gonna lean on Jacobs and Love to kind of make plays. And I mean, looking at these like PFF grades too, I mean, you could see the mismatch here. I mean, just look at the grades on these defensive players for Philly. Plus, they got the Godfather Vic Fangio in there. Like, maybe you find the player here, but yeah, Cooper DeJean 82. That's big. Fuck, where'd it go? But yeah, this defense is going to be pretty filthy against the Packers, which will keep them in the game so they can run the ball with Saquon and just dominate. I mean, their O-line too is like top tier, top 3. I mean, look at these guys.
Still, yeah.
Absolutely filthy. And they're pretty healthy too, it seems. So I don't know. I just think the Packers, who I love, I like that team a lot. I'm a LaFleur guy.
Tough matchup. Like
yeah, it's a tough draw first round for them. They kind of too late with how their year's gone. So yeah, I think Philly rolls in that game. And who would they play next? So they're the 2. So they're gonna play Tampa and Washington out of that game. So yeah, that'll be.
Speaking of Minnesota and the Rams, I don't know if when you had it on the screen earlier, the site I have had that game moving to a pick 'em already too.
It's moving down still. Yeah, it went from 1.5 to 1.
No,
Was it at a half point right now?
Money line is locked, and right now it's a pick 'em for what the site that I have access to. So I don't know if that's different from what you're looking at, but it's good to see. That's what's also good now about gambling being legalized and all these states in different lines. And
you can look at all the shops and get the best numbers. I like to bring up, there's a site called Vegas Insider. Always used it just to see all of what all the shops have the number at.
Sure.
What were we talking about? The Rams Vikings.
It moved to with what I have access.
So it opened at 2.5 Vikings. And right now I'm seeing 1 pretty much with DraftKings and FanDuel at 1.5. But I'm seeing 1s across most of the board here.
So what I have access to is a pick 'em.
Nice.
Money
We all got little different sports books here, John, right?
Yep. that's a big one right there. And like I was just thinking in terms of when I was looking at Philly, like minus 230 money line isn't bad if you parlay that.
But I mean, we're looking at that game right there. That's probably going to be who's playing Detroit.
Yep.
In the championship.
Yeah,
because I think whoever wins this game can beat the winner of the Rams and Vikings. Unless the Rams and McVay go on a run.
Yeah, Detroit getting that 1 seed was crucial for them too, because if you tell Goff has to go on the road and play in Philly in inclement weather,
not looking good.
Yeah, so that was.
I would rush to fade that.
Yeah. Now, before talking about lines and whatnot, like just quick second to give a client of mine a plug. I sent you the link the other day. I believe it's called propsbot.ai, an app one of my clients developed. And it's pretty cool. Like it'll give you information across the board with just different prop bets and what this quarterback does against this package of defense, the trends for however many times this player's done whatnot for NBA, NFL, and MLB. But it's cool too because it shows you lines across the board. So quick little plug to him.
Hell yeah, John. Well, I think we had a good first show, my man.
Yeah.
What do you think, mate? You want to try to do this again next week?
With it, I'm gonna come a little better prepared this year. It's you know how it is now being a dad. It's like,
Oh God.
I feel like I used to be prepared with any sport at the drop of a dime, where now it's like things are a little more selective with what we're devoting time to watching with little ones at home. So
No doubt. The beauty of it is there's less games to worry about now.
yep.
It's coming down to less and less games.
And
Real
I'm
quick, what's that?
That dad where I'm just leaning on the names that I know and fading all the young guys. But I'm slightly getting there. I know I said that with some of the picks I made, but it's coaching too, man. It's like the NFL March Madness, where this time of the year I'm leaning on coaching just as heavily in some aspects. So yeah.
100%. Who's your college football national champion?
I hate to say it as a Penn State fan. Like, I'm not diehard as I used to be, but I'm gonna go Ohio State.
Yeah, it's got to be Ohio State. I'm thinking that's the only play I have this week for college too. Ohio State action -6. I think it's moved down actually, so there's some Texas love coming in, but
Yep.
all right, John. I think we had a first good betting barber series episode.
Yep.
We're gonna try to keep doing this, see how it rolls. Maybe we can bring in some other opinions too. We can kind of keep the love rolling around. And yeah, kind of preview for next season. See how we can do this again for next year. A little more structured.
It's an extension of our day behind.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I was gonna say I've been wanting to do this for a long time, so I appreciate you, John, making the time, hopping on here, and making it a reality, dude. I think that was fun.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Well, all right, my man. I'll let you get back to that family. Thanks a ton, brother. You have a good night and good luck. Good luck to the Bills.
We'll be in touch.
All right, my man. Peace.
All right. Take care.
See you.
You too.